I never imagined we would be here. Not even 6 months ago, we didn't own land, tend animals, or keep a garden. We wanted to live this life of peace, calm, self-sufficiency, and wonder, so we jumped in headfirst into the dream. It has been a journey of growth and excitement, but also overwhelm and nerves. Stepping outside the box in any form can be awkward and scary. You don't fit your old life, but you also don't yet fit the new. I think the key is diving in and learning one thing at a time as you go. This is season dependent, of course, but utilizing your time, energy, and season can give you a great start. When we moved, we were just headed into spring, so we started with a garden. I made a lot of mistakes, but I also learned so much. One of the learning points is to grow food that freezes well and we enjoy, no matter how much or little we tend to eat. Next year, I'll grow my own corn, but this year I bought 58 cobbs from a local, reputable source that hand-picks their cobbs, and I set out to blanch, freeze, and can them all for the year. I started with shucking them all, giving the leftovers to my lovely chickens. I blanched each ear in salted water for 5 minutes, and promptly dunked them into cold water to stop the cooking process. This resulted in super sweet, crisp kernels. I froze some in a vacuum sealer bag, whole with butter. This worked so well. I tried this new vacuum sealer for the first time and fell in love. For the price, it does a great job. Not sponsored, unfortunately, but I will link it in the description below. I sliced some of the ears into some smaller sections because that's all my kids tend to eat at a time, and I put them together with a scoop of butter, sealed it, and wrote the date on. I moved on to freezing kernels of corn and started the same with blanching for 5 minutes. I cooled them down and cut the kernels off the cob. I got around 25 cups of kernels and froze them in 2-cup increments. I dated these again and threw them into the freezer. Finally, I had planned to can corn, but it turns out that this is not safe without a pressure canner, which is a one-day investment. For now, I pivoted to a corn salsa recipe. I found this one online and I'll link it below, but always do your own research into recipes before blindly following them, especially while canning. Botulism is not cool. I started with grabbing some peppers and jalapenos as well as onions from the garden. Turns out no peppers were actually used in this recipe, but that will be a future use. I plan to make a few large batches of salsa soon and freeze the rest of my peppers. There should be a video to come. I took out my bag of tomatoes from the freezer and let them thaw. Turns out thawing tomatoes takes way longer than I expected, so next time I will be sure to take them out first thing in the morning. The freezing did work super well as the skins literally peeled right off with very minimal effort. I chopped them and added them to the pot with the corn, diced up the onion and jalapenos, and topped it with fresh lemon juice and salt. I cooked this for a few minutes on the stove while the canner got to a rolling boil. This also takes ages, but I did start this one early enough. I boiled the empty jars for a few minutes to sterilize them and then filled them with the hot salsa, leaving the appropriate amount of headspace. I wiped the rims and topped them with the hot lids. I twisted the rims to hand tight and boiled the cans for the allotted time. I pulled them out and let them cool for 24 hours, ensuring I heard the pop of sealing, which I did. I stored them in our cool storage room in the dark area. We did crack it open and use it with nachos. I enjoyed it, although it could have used a tad more seasonings. I'm still hesitant to play around with recipes as I'm not yet familiar with the rules of canning. I did really love the fresh taste and that I had made and canned something using only local ingredients or vegetables I grew in my own garden. Throughout this summer, I have gained so much appreciation for home canned goods and the farmers who grow our food. The love and care that goes into growing is immense, and I will continue to use my dollars to support local growers wherever I can. I think that one of the keys to leading a more self-sufficient life is experimenting and taking some risks. We have to try and try some more to find what works for us and what doesn't. This can be fun and exciting when it works, but depleting and demoralizing when it doesn't. This life is not for everyone, and that is totally okay. For instance, I had no idea that canning takes so much time and effort. This whole day of canning and freezing corn looks easy and quick. In my head it was. It ended up taking around 7 hours total. One of my biggest successes this year was the garden. For a first-time gardener, I think I did pretty good. We have an abundance of peppers, cucumbers, and tomatoes, all parts of recipes that can be easily stored. It came with some struggles with pests, and I lost half of my carrots to what I can only assume were mice. The magpies ate most of my onions, and still, I'm filled with joy because I tried. Now I know we need netting for onions, and they do better in a raised bed. I'll put animal wire under my next raised beds and make sure to keep them covered. We change and we grow when we put ourselves out there, and our journey becomes more clear. If there's something that's been on your mind, calling to you, I urge you to make it happen. Maybe it starts as a whisper, asking you to try making bread. Maybe it's a thought to try an herb garden on your balcony. Any steps you take to connect you to the world, your food, or your community will fill you with pride and peace. At least that's been my experience anyways. Something else I've realized recently is how serendipitous life can be. We felt sort of out of place when we first moved here. None of our friends live on an acreage or have any desire for animals. We were learning on our own, and there's only so much YouTube you can watch without the hands-on learning. I put out a feeler on Facebook looking for a goat that was in milk, and somebody replied with the sweetest looking goat. Turns out the farm was so close to us, so we went to pick her up. We clicked right away with the other family, and they took us under their wings, showing us all they know about the animals they have, preserving and growing food, and they maybe convinced us that we need cooney pigs in the spring. Finding like-minded people is tricky at times, but can be totally transformative and show up in the most random ways when you least expect it. We feel so excited to meet people like us that want community and connection that we so often miss in this hustle and bustle culture. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you more than you know.